Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News, where today's developments could mark a turning point not just for investors, but for the entire global financial system. If you've been holding Iraqi dinar or Vietnamese dong, or even just watching from the sidelines, this is the moment that changes everything. As of the current date in the USA, an extraordinary announcement has shaken global markets. An official revaluation of both the Iraqi dinar, IQD, and Vietnamese dong, VND, has been confirmed by none other than former President Donald Trump. And this wasn't a vague political gesture. It was a detailed declaration broadcast live with specific currency values and a fixed implementation date, July 1st, 2025. Former President Trump, during a nationally televised town hall, was asked about global economic balance and responded with a direct and confident message. He stated the currencies of Iraq and Vietnam would be corrected and properly valued by July 1st. In the same breath, he cited specific numbers: $0.42 for the Iraqi dinar and $0.00 for the Vietnamese dong. The financial community didn't have to guess what he meant. There were no metaphors or ambiguity, just hard numbers and a looming deadline. This was not internet speculation or anonymous message board chatter. This was a public statement by a former U.S. president made in front of millions of viewers. And for anyone who has followed former President Trump's long-standing criticism of currency manipulation, it made perfect sense. He has consistently spoken against countries that devalue their currencies to gain trade advantages, and Iraq and Vietnam have been key examples in his speeches for years, but never before has he gone as far as naming the currencies, assigning new rates, and announcing a revaluation date. Now let's unpack why those numbers might actually be grounded in economic reality. Iraq, before decades of war and sanctions, maintained a dinar value of over $3.00 to the dollar. The country is rich in oil, gold, and natural resources, and in recent years it has restructured its economy. Iraq's oil exports have stabilized, and the central banking system is now aligned with IMF requirements. The country has successfully integrated into international banking systems like SWIFT and has introduced anti-corruption and currency control measures. These are not surface-level changes. They are foundational shifts that make a revaluation not only plausible, but strategically sound. The same logic applies to Vietnam. Over the past decade, Vietnam has transformed into a manufacturing hub for Asia, attracting massive foreign investments and replacing China as the go-to destination for many multinational companies. With its modern infrastructure, rapid export growth, and bilateral trade deals, Vietnam's rise has been strong and steady. Most recently, its central bank completed a digital upgrade to its foreign exchange systems, making it easier to track and verify international transactions. This tech upgrade alone makes the proposed $0.00 rate more realistic than some may assume at first glance. But perhaps the most important part of former President Trump's announcement is the date, July 1st. If that's when the revaluation is set to activate, then preparations are already in motion. In fact, insiders from major institutions such as HSBC, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo have quietly confirmed that their internal systems have been updated with these exact figures. These updates have not been published for public viewing. They appear as private tier data, accessible only to select departments and clients. But when large financial institutions begin adjusting exchange rate systems internally, it's almost always a sign that a significant shift is coming. Behind the scenes, banks aren't waiting for news headlines, they're acting. Sources within these institutions have reported that private tier rate sheets now reflect the exact numbers former President Trump mentioned: $0.41 for the Iraqi dinar and $0.00 for the Vietnamese dong. These figures have not yet appeared on public-facing platforms but are visible to internal currency desks and wealth management divisions. That kind of operational update doesn't happen without planning. It's a signal that preparations are complete and implementation could be imminent. And Iraq's financial authorities appear equally ready. Over the past 12 months, the country has aggressively pursued reforms, overhauling its banking regulations, closing illegal exchange outlets, and enforcing compliance with international anti-money laundering standards. The economic fundamentals support a revaluation. Iraq's oil exports have surged, bilateral trade deals with both Western and Eastern countries are active, and international observers are increasingly viewing Iraq not as a risk, but as a re-emerging player in global finance. Meanwhile, Vietnam has solidified its position as an industrial leader. The country's foreign reserves are growing, its supply chain infrastructure is world-class, and its trade portfolio spans multiple regions. It's no longer a regional underdog. It's on par with larger economies in terms of trade activity and digital finance capability. In that context, the proposed exchange rate shift is not just symbolic. It reflects years of effort that have moved both Iraq and Vietnam from speculation to financial credibility. Now comes the most important question. What should dinar and dong holders do? First, assess and organize your holdings. Count every note, record serial numbers, and collect receipts or certificates of authenticity if you have them. Whether your currency is physical or digital, document everything clearly. This will help streamline any future transaction and provide essential backup for financial reporting. Second, get in touch with your local banks. Not every financial institution handles foreign exchange, especially when it involves newly revalued currencies. Call in advance and find out if your bank is aware of these developments. Ask whether they're preparing for redemption, and, if they're not, ask who is. Third, talk to a licensed tax professional. The sudden increase in asset value that could come from a revaluation carries significant tax implications, particularly in the United States. You may be subject to capital gains taxes, and those obligations could vary depending on how long you've held your currency and how you document the transaction. Fourth, beware of scams. Where there's money, there are always predators. Avoid anyone offering secret deals, private locations, or unrealistic rates in exchange for your currency or personal details. Stick with insured, regulated institutions. Do not sign any paperwork without having it reviewed by legal counsel. Finally, prepare yourself mentally and emotionally. If this revaluation happens on July 1st, the market could move faster than expected. There will be excitement, noise, and likely some confusion. Stay grounded. Set clear goals before the moment arrives. Whether your priority is paying off debt, purchasing property, investing, or retiring early, write down your objectives now. Make a plan and follow it. Windfalls create opportunity, but they also come with risk. Discipline is key. If you've waited this long, don't rush into decisions in the final moments. What former President Trump revealed wasn't just a policy stance. It may well be the final confirmation that the revaluation is real and upon us. With Iraq and Vietnam stepping into a new financial era, we may be witnessing the beginning of a global monetary rebalancing, where emerging economies take their place alongside legacy powers in trade, valuation, and wealth creation. What happens next will depend not only on governments and banks, but on the millions of currency holders now positioned to take part in history. We'll be covering every step of this process right here at Iraqi Dinar News. Make sure you're subscribed, share this update with others, and stay alert. The countdown to July 1st has begun, and your preparation today could define your financial tomorrow.